sea of suffering. But no one, it's all been bred out of us to display it, to show by the slightest twitch of an eyebrow that we have it. And maybe we don't even notice it ourselves. Maybe generations ago, back in the cavemen, this was bred out of you to express pain or to realize that you have it. Maybe the pain we do feel, that we do know we have, is just the tip of the iceberg of the suffering that we're all in most of the time. Yes?
Can you define pain, please?
Actually, I'm going to do that next time. I will do that next time. I don't think we're going to have time to do it right now. But it's the feeling. The simple way to do it would be to stick a pin into you and say, now you know what pain is. But I'll come on to another way of doing it. Actually, maybe we'll have time to get onto that in just a moment. Okay. The reason I push that example is that it's difficult to make too big a cut between mental states and their expression. Someone once said this about a friend of mine, and he is very intelligent, but in the whole course of his life, he has never shown the least sign of it. There's something about that. That really can't be right? If you're that smart, you must show some sign of it at some point. Yeah? And that's the thing about jealousy. Who was it I saw jealousy? Yeah. That was jealousy something like Putnam's point? Seems kind of crazy. If super Spartans get so that they never have the slightest tendency to express their jealousy, is there any difference between that and having jealousy bred out of you? You see what I mean? It would be just as natural a description of the situation to say, they don't feel jealousy anymore. So I'm saying I'm not that wild about Putnam's argument. It's a very natural idea. Look, the pain's in here, the behaviour's out there. I could keep the pain, but lose the behaviour. But when you think about examples like intelligence or jealousy, it's a bit harder to see how that would go. I mean, and if you push Putnam's thing to the limit, then you get my hypothesis that we're all feeling pain the whole time, but we just don't know about it. And that seems kind of crazy. Yeah, it seems like a more natural thing to say that we didn't get the pain at all in the first place. Yeah. Okay, let's go on just a little bit to the definition of pain. But Putnam, Putnam uses that argument to motivate a quite different way of thinking of pain than the behaviorist does. Putnam says there's a whole cluster of ways you explain what pain is. That's what I meant about that thing about sticking a pin into someone. Or he can say, look at Sally, she's in pain. There are 1,000,001 different ways of saying what pain is. Pain is that feeling which is normally evinced by saying ouch or by wincing or in a variety of other ways, or often not evinced at all. And you could think of explaining what pain is as a bit like explaining what a disease is. Suppose you think of a country doctor in a village where they get people getting characteristic symptoms of some disease. This kind of thing happened with Legionnaire's disease, for example, that you get a whole bunch of strange symptoms, and they go together. When people have that kind of cough, they usually have a bit of a fever. They usually have lost their appetite. You're getting symptoms here that go together. And you say, I think this is a single disease. All these symptoms are symptoms of just one disease. So what you want to be able to do when you're finding a new disease like AIDS or Legionnaire's disease or Ebola is you want to be able to say, when I've got a whole bunch of symptoms that are all symptoms of just one disease. And you say, well, it's when there's a single underlying factor, like a single virus or a single bacterium or something or other, there's just one thing that's making all these symptoms happen. So then when you say someone has polio,
having polio is not just a matter of having the symptoms of polio. You can have asymptomatic polio. You could have the virus but not show any of the symptoms. Polio, the important thing about polio is whether you've got the virus, not whether you show the symptoms. So when people discovered what the virus was, they said if you got all the symptoms of polio but you didn't have the virus, then that wasn't polio. If you got all the symptoms of Legionnaire's disease but you don't have the virus, then that's not Legionnaire's disease you've got. If you got all the symptoms of flu but you don't have the virus, then whatever you have, that's not flu. So the idea is that words for mental states are like that. Pain is whatever causes you to hop, suck your thumb, say ouch, stuff like that. These are the symptoms of pain, and whether you have pain is a matter of whether the right kind of cause is there. Yep.
Like, can't you have like emotional pain without feeling any of that?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Like
Yeah.
eyes or like a breakup or something, you wouldn't be like sucking your thumb or like coughing, I guess.
That's right. That's right. From sport to sport, they hurry me to stifle my regret.
And when they win a smile from me, they think that I forget. But I do not forget.
The pain is there. Right. Sorry. Where was I? So you could have that underlying cause without any of the symptoms, right? We all know that. There's a pain in the heart, but are you going to show it? No, you are not going to show it, right? So that would be like having asymptomatic polio, right? You've got the polio virus, if you see what I mean. You've got the thing in the center, but you're not showing any of the symptoms. In that case, you still have the pain, even though you don't have any of the symptoms. So what you mean by pain, even the pain in the heart, is not that you've got all these responses. What you mean is that you have the event or the condition that normally causes those responses. Yeah. And then we can go just a little bit further and say what that cause is. Now, if you take a bunch of behaviors like hopping, wincing, crying out, sucking a thumb, yeah, what causes that? Well, it's your brain, right? That's what science tells us. It's your brain that causes your behaviors. So pain just is a state of the brain. We identify pain as whatever it is that causes all these behaviors. Behaviorists said we define excited as whatever it is that causes you to do all that stuff, give vehement and factually unsatisfactory answers to questions and so on. But that's not right. You say excited is a syndrome. It's like having a whole bunch of symptoms. And the key thing for whether you really are excited is whether you have the underlying brain state. Okay, more on this on Wednesday. Thanks, guys.